Hey there, folks. Adam Brian Dada with the Low Reward video series. This is the 10th episode on the angel side, which is my first milestone. It means I've reached 1/10 of 1% of the episodes I'm planning to make. Today, I'm going to answer a common question. Why bother? Why bother lowering reward? What is the benefit? A lot of times people think I'm here to try and help people get rich or famous. That's not my goal. It's never been my goal. I had some opportunities in my past to do it, be rich and be famous, and neither of them really felt right to me. So I moved on. The goal of lower reward living is pretty simple. In all the areas where you suffer from hedonistic, consumer, addictive behavior, in all those areas, you're going to build the equivalent of FU money. But it's not a money thing. It's a mindset thing. Floating around is a chart of the low reward plans for all the various areas. One of them is financial. One of them is social. One of them is physical, meaning health, diet, exercise, all that. And there's a couple others. The reason why I work to lower reward is so I have nobody controlling me. When you're working for someone else voluntarily, you're not just giving up time and money, you're giving up emotional stability. When you get emotional at a movie or a song or a headline or something that someone who doesn't even know you does, for example, a politician, you're giving up a piece of your emotional stability pretty much forever. It's indoctrination. As you continue down that path, you jump from one person who doesn't know you to another person who doesn't know you, and on, because they're all taking advantage of your weakness, whatever that weakness may be. A lot of times I focus on financial first because that's the easiest one. Going from poor to not poor is the absolute easiest thing you can do. And it all starts with being lower reward in other areas. Same thing's true with diet, exercise, fitness, looking good naked, living a long life of quality days rather than a long life of not quality days. That's low reward eating, low reward activities, physical activities. When we look at our social circles, the hardest thing to get in life are guys who are also successful, contented, comfortable, and want to be friends with you. A lot of people ask me when they're starting their trek down the lower reward path that they're lonely. How do I find other guys who are like this? Well, the reality is, as long as you're a high reward living hedonistic consumer addict, you're not going to find them. You don't have to have a lot of money to find them. You just have to have the right mindset. They don't want their customers being their friends. We act like our customers are our friends, but that's just an act. The same reason why celebrities pretend they care about politics. It's just an act. You're talking to people who are mindless. You're talking to people who have no self-control. You're talking to people who have given up their entire life to appease someone else that doesn't even know their name. So why lower reward? To take back control. To stop giving up emotion to someone else. To stop giving up your time and your money to profit someone who's smarter than you, or someone who's more patient than you, or someone who's taken bigger risks than you, or somebody who's studied the brain more than you. I look back at my Facebook memories and I laugh and cry at stuff that I said 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Who did that enrich? I don't even know the name. I couldn't even tell you. I look at so many of my friends on social media that I've had for years, 10 years sometimes, and they're bots. They're literally bots parroting a brand slogan or headline for someone who doesn't know them, doesn't care about them, doesn't share the profits with them. And they're doing it because their emotions are lost. Their ability to control their emotions are lost. In the prior episode, we talked about anxiety, depression, and boredom. And those are the things that consumers are most familiar with because consumers are the ones that experience it the most. Massively rich people, huge celebrities go through bouts of boredom and anxiety and depression. Why? They're not producers. The people hiding behind them, whose names you probably don't know and may not be able to find, are the ones that are living contented lives. Maybe very rich lives, but very contented lives. So the celebrities that you love, the ones controlling you, are controlling you on behalf of someone else's benefits. And they themselves are high reward consumers. It's funny whenever I hear about another rap star or rock star or athlete who lost everything in his chase for consumerism, more hedonism, married that hot crazy girl for consumerism, red pill consumerism, blue pill consumerism. Nobody ever sat them down and said, you don't need any of those things. You don't need the $10 million house. You don't need the $40 million jet plane. You don't need the $8 million yacht to be contented. And that's what lower reward has always been about to me. The video series is about convincing a very small minority of people in order to make the change so that someday I might be able to add some more friends to my small circle. That's my goal. I'm not here for the financial side of things. I'm not here to sell you something. I'm not here to convince you all to change. But what I would like to do is develop a network of men who are contented doing very little together. That's why I'm here. For you, maybe you're looking to break an addiction, and lower reward living in that behavior will help. I can guarantee it for a great majority. 80% of people who try lower reward toward one area of their life that is suffering or failing will succeed in as little as 2 weeks. I've seen it over and over and over again. And they succeed in that one area, and I don't hear from them again. And that's fine, because they're going to be consumers in other areas. Being mindful, being a producer, taking the yellow pill doesn't mean you have to change everything about your life if you only want to change one thing. But it's an interesting slope. I don't know if it's a slippery slope. I think the mountain gets more difficult to climb initially, and then it gets easier and easier as time goes on, but it's not a slippery slope. As you start lowering reward, as you start catching glimpses of the people controlling you that I tell you about, I think it becomes easier. Some people tell me they feel guilty when they start performing some consumer habits. I don't feel guilty. You shouldn't either. Our last episode, we talked about what you can do to not feel guilty. If you didn't watch that, check out episode 9 on the angel side. What can you do to avoid guilt when you decide you want to have a pizza or a beer or smoke some weed or watch a movie or go listen to your favorite band? There's a lot you can do to not feel guilty, not feel anxiety, not feel depression after it. And it's all from the low reward side that it works. Why do it? So that thing no longer controls you. So that thing no longer makes you feel anxiety. So that thing no longer makes you feel guilt or depression afterwards. And so you don't become captive to it. So you don't jump to it every time you're feeling a little boredom and need a distraction. That's why I follow a lower reward path most of the time. I still have my battles, and I know what they are. But I've only been doing this a decade at most, and I'm still working through it with my own mentors and peers and colleagues that I've met through posting and sharing and discussing. If you're at a stage in your life where you feel like you're too old to succeed, or if you're at a place in your life where you feel like you're too broke to invest in yourself, or if you've gotten to a stage where you're accepting that you're a consumer addict, the next step really is to start at episode 1 on the angel side and think through what I'm saying. Get that notepad, get that pen and paper, write it down. You're going to get to the episode about the enemy, the xenophobe, and you're going to write that down too, who your artificial enemies are from the headlines, who your artificial enemies are from the music lyrics, who the artificial enemies are from the movie plot or the political debates. You're going to write down those artificial enemies, and you're going to realize not only are they not your enemies, they're nobodies. They should have no grasp on you. And you'll only get to that point by treading a lower reward path in regards to that issue. A little aside, during an election year that this video was recorded in, I've actually been helping three people directly break their addiction to national politics. And we dropped down to local politics in their homeowners association. It's driving them crazy still, but the point is, by actually interacting with people they know and know them, they can see how painful it is emotionally to have their brains, their thoughts, their time pushed into these debates. And even when they spent the better part of 3 months arguing at the homeowners meetings, no changes happened because people who were more powerful than them were in control. Now they're turning around and individually telling me that they understand. They finally understand why I made them succumb to more politics at a local level, because nothing they did made a difference. But now they are more powerful the next time that they're going to get emotionally pulled in to something that doesn't matter, that has no difference in their life one way or another, just more money being spent. And by helping them lower their reward, just like I do with diet, just like I do with exercise, just like I do with spending and earning with my proteges that I mentor to. Every time someone lowers their reward in one area, they start to realize the grasp that consumerism, that hedonism, that mindless chasing of dopamine has done to their lives. And it takes small steps. But if you want the equivalent of being able to say F you to pretty much anyone in your life, not just famous people that don't know you, but your boss, your spouse, your neighbor, the kid that doesn't listen, if you want the ability to say F you without getting angry, without getting sad, without getting emotional, just from a contented basis, that's the ultimate goal of lower reward living. Across all the platforms, if you want to say F you to the medical prescriptions that you're taking, if you want to say F you to having to go to work every day in order to make rent, if you want to say F you to the loss of self-control, loss of self-value, the lower reward lifestyle is a good path to follow in small increments. Nobody has to do anything overnight. I generally tell people it's about a 2-year path with a lot of stumbles, a lot of failures, and every time you fail again, you find out that failure is part of living. Failure is part of beating survival. And for the past year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, you've never actually failed, except as a consumer goal that producers created for you. Some consumers will fail and come back for more. Some consumers will succeed and come back for more. And it means nothing to the consumer, but the producer profited the entire time. So if you're ready, truly ready to stop failing for others and start succeeding and failing for yourself, this is the video series I think will catch a piece of you that you've been missing maybe all your life. I'm Adam Brian Dada, and this is the Lower Reward video series.